It's been a couple of days since the women's Under-19 T20 Challenger Trophy ended over in Goa, and the unfancied India C clinched victory over India B in the final. It was a last ball thriller. It was an exciting game. It was a game befitting of a final. There was lots of drama involved. And I'm here now with the tournament review just to give you a bit of insights as to how each of the teams performed. Of course, I have to start this review by talking about India C. Like I said at the start, an unfancied team, a team that on paper you wouldn't have thought would reach the final, but hey, they did. In fact, at the start of the tournament, a couple of the players did tell me that their opponents came up to them and told them that they had no chance of reaching the final because they lacked depth in their batting, they didn't have enough power down the order, but this team, it seems, took that jibe a little personally and came out all guns blazing to finish victorious. Niki Prasad, the Karnataka captain who suffered a loss in the final of that interstate trophy, came out and led India C to victory in this tournament. So she finally tasted victory and her team supported her superbly. A lot of India C's success was based on that opening batting pair of Jeet Risha and Brishti Maji. Jeet Risha was one of the 4 players who crossed that 100-run mark in the tournament. She finished as the second highest run getter, was quite consistent at the top of the order. I don't think she was at her fluent best through the tournament, but as the games progressed, she looked a lot better. She seemed to find the middle of the bat. Her stroke play was much more fluent, but she combined really well with Brishti at the top of the order and gave her team solid starts that allowed the likes of Archana Devi, the likes of Niki Prasad, even Kranti Reddy lower down the order to come out and get a few quick runs. They didn't have any real standout performers with the bat, but I thought they combined really well as a unit. But it wasn't with the bat that India C, for me, won the tournament. It was with the ball. I think they were just very, very disciplined. They were also very smart with the way they planned. They executed their plans extremely well. And to start off for them, Jintimani Kalita, the pacer from Assam, who I spoke about in an earlier video, she was the one who kind of led the attack and led the energy in the field as well. She bowled some really, really important overs up front in the power play, came back in the middle overs to pick up a couple of wickets as well. So she was almost the heartbeat of that attack, and she was really well supported by the spinners. Sri Charani, the left-arm spinner from Andhra, I thought was exceptional. There was Chansi, the leg spinner as well. And they combined really well. Niki Prasad was also extremely disciplined, as she has been through the season. So there was a lot that worked for India C because of their discipline with the ball. They were good in the field as well. So I think those elements came together for them, especially in that final. And they finished the tournament on the right side. The runners-up of the tournament, India B, led by Shweta Sehrawat, she was the star performer. She finished at the top of the run charts, was exceptionally consistent through the course of those 4 games that she played. And as I said in an earlier video, it looked like she was kind of batting on a different surface where most batters struggle to find their timing. Shweta came out in every single game and found the middle of the bat. She found the gaps. And she batted with some great intent. I thought India C in that final planned really well to her, executed their plans. They tucked her up and didn't allow her to get away. She'd still scored a half century, but she wasn't able to score at the pace at which she was through the rest of the tournament. So I think India C kind of won that battle where they didn't allow her to get away to a flying start. But Shweta Sehrawat for India B was just the standout. There was also the likes of Mithila Vinod, the all-rounder from Karnataka, who came down the order to finish off one of the games against India A. It was a tight finish where they needed 17 or 15 runs to win off the last couple of overs, and Mithila Vinod came in and struck a 6 to get off the mark and then finished off the game in that last over with a boundary and a single. So she had support from the lower order, but Shweta was the one who did a lot of the heavy lifting. With the ball, of course, there was Titas, there was Nirmiti Rane from Mumbai, the off-spinner. I think she was one of the smartest bowlers on display through this tournament. She just changed her angles, varied her pace quite beautifully. The final was her best game of the tournament. And I think she was a little unlucky to finish on the losing side, but I think she masterminded India B's comeback into that game. and was one of the better off spinners on display through the tournament. But India B, I think shoddy fielding, some poor game awareness under pressure really meant that the final slipped from their hands, I think. India A, of course, finished third in the tournament, where they beat India D in the third place playoff, but they did come into the tournament as absolute favorites. So on paper, they were the strongest. They had the best batting lineup, the most balanced attack. They had power players, they had grafters, they had left arm spinner, a really good leg spinner, a couple of really good off spinners as well, and of course they had the firepower of Shabnam with the ball. So they were the pre-tournament favorites. A lot of the players and a lot of the teams, including the coaches, thought that the final would be India A against one of the other teams. That didn't pan out, despite getting off to a really good start where they beat India C in their first game. What happened after that, I feel like, is just I think Soumya Tiwari's inability to bowl through the rest of the tournament really hampered their team balance. So after the first game, Soumya Tiwari's action was deemed suspect by match referee GS Lakshmi, which meant she wasn't allowed to bowl through the rest of the tournament. She'll now have to remodel her action and probably get tested before that World Cup. And I feel like that act meant that I think that kind of seemed to really impact Soumya, impact her confidence as a batter and as a captain. She didn't come out with the same swagger that she had played with through that interstate T20 trophy. She seemed to recede into her shell as a batter. And she took a couple of games, I think, to just find that confidence again. She did score a half century in that final game and batted with that same confidence and swagger. But I think just having her action called really hurt her. It also hurt the balance of that India A lineup as well. So I think that probably derailed them. It meant they had to bring in an extra bowler. It hurt their batting depth as well. So after that, I think they lost a close game against India B, probably a game that they should have won. And then India D, deemed the weakest team in the tournament, completely upset the apple cart, where Shikha came in and helped India D chase down 127, a total that had not been overhauled before. It hadn't been scored before in the tournament. So India A, just it wasn't their tournament. It wasn't Soumya Tiwari's best tournament either. Now the fourth place finishers, India D. Like I said, on paper, probably the weakest team in the tournament. They won. No one really gave them a chance. I think in that game against India A, everyone thought, considering the way they'd performed until then, everyone thought they'd get mauled. But they came out and played with some real fight, with some real fire. Shikha batted with a real presence. She has a lot of power. And just played without a sense of fear. I think she just came out and absolutely smashed the bowlers around the ground. Of course, it also helped her that Shabnam wasn't playing in that game. She was arrested to give an opportunity to the other players. So it allowed her to kind of play with a bit more freedom. But I think India D will also be disappointed with the way they fared. They did have a lot of really talented players in their lineup. Roshni Kiran struggled to find runs. Mahak Pokar didn't play with the same presence or the freedom that she had through the T20 trophy. Najla wasn't able to find wickets or runs as consistently. So they didn't play to potential, but I also think they'd be really happy with the way they performed against India A. I think that was probably their best, easily their best game of the tournament. And it was also a game where I think they did play close to their potential. So Hurley Gala was another one who really stood out for them. She batted with a real positive intent in every game that she came out. I love the presence at the crease. She's always looking for runs, very, very busy, very strong off the front foot, likes to drop and run as well. So she's definitely one that I'd be watching out for in the quadrangular series as well. But I think with India D, their players just weren't consistent enough, which led to them finishing fourth. Well, that's it for the team reviews this tournament. I'll be back with a couple more videos looking at the top batters and the top bowlers through the tournament. I'll also be back with a preview of the squads for that quadrangular series that have been announced. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I'll continue to bring you such insights in the lead up to the Under-19 T20 World Cup in South Africa. Hopefully some interviews as well, some interesting content with the players. Additionally, remember that you can follow me on Twitter at @A_Upendran11, on Instagram at Ananya_Upendran. I'll basically be stalking this Under-19 team in Vizag, where they're playing the quadrangular, in Mumbai, where they're playing against New Zealand, and I'll bring you tons of content from there, so stay tuned.